Earlier, we heard a line from David Hume, "Truth springs from argument among friends," and what a rich and full day we've had, brimming with ideas, a bit like a cornucopia in the Stone Hall at Grimsthorpe. In our central sessions, we've gone deep into the architectural history, but as our papers have shown, we isolate architects at our peril from their hinterlands, their other work, and their lives more generally. And far from the solitary genius, the importance of networks, collaborations and partnerships to Vanbragh's life and work have been foregrounded. Interesting, I thought that Vanbragh's heraldic device was the bridge, a play on his name. We've had so many interesting observations, insights and new perspectives, many that were new to me or that have become clearer as a result of the day. There were so many interesting psychological insights in Christopher's paper, particularly in terms of Vanbragh's resilience. He said, "I find myself much stronger on this occasion after a particularly testing period. It's only when I know the worst that I feel easy," and I paraphrase. So the paradox of his stoicism and yet his sensitivity and his imagination, also his bravery, his impulse to recede on occasion, as we saw in David's paper, whether as a strategy of self-presentation or world weariness, contrasted with his flair, his wit, his showmanship, a bit like the recessions and projections of his buildings. We've considered his concern with function and his sometimes strange obsession with convenience and functionality, and yet his boundless creative genius set free. I've certainly thought fresh about numerous things, including the relevance of court masks and their visual conventions, and the fact that clearly more thinking in that area would be repaid, and the point that David made in the Q&A in that session, that there are more settings in Vanbragh's plays than any other first-time playwright. We thought about Vanbrugh as an efficient administrator, which is perhaps not something we necessarily tend to foreground, and his tendency to follow the money, his judicious decision-making in terms of materials and labour, and also in that Stowe session, his intellectual world. So as Charles has just pointed out, the idea that Vanbrugh is done is clearly entirely false. And Jeremy's just listed some of the areas we've not been able to include today. There are so many, and there's so much we wish we could have included. But at least the filming of today will allow others to join the conversation. Your champagne is getting warm, so I'm just going to conclude with a few final very important thanks again to, first of all, the Centre for the Study of Classical Architecture and the Axon Johnson Foundation, to Frank Salmon and Elizabeth Deans, to Matthew and to all their colleagues here at the Centre. We've enjoyed wonderful hospitality, Kit Kat Club-like standards, and I want also to thank all of today's wonderful speakers and our chairs, the Paul Mellon Centre for funding student places today, the National Lottery Heritage Fund for facilitating the filming of the day, and very importantly, the Georgian Group team, and especially Oliver Flory, who produced today's programme, and to my colleague Eva Manias, who has facilitated the Q&As. Everyone should have a copy of this leaflet, which will signpost you to yet more Vanbrugh activity this year. So do please have a look at that and join us at any of the other events that interest you. And I think it just remains for me to invite you to congratulate our speakers one final time before we move downstairs for drinks. Thank you.